Welcome everyone to this episode of Nostalgia Screams. Today we're talking to Devin Arscott about his book Magni the Mighty. So Devin, can you introduce yourself for our audience?
For those who are unaware of who I am, my name is Devin Arscott. I am a writer, editor, and I have my own publishing studio, Epic Fantasy Studios, which is a blast to run. I've written a couple cool books, Magni the Mighty being one of them, which is why I'm here to talk today. Magnus for Wise Acre Comics, and a couple other projects that I'm sure some folks have read. If you haven't read them or anything I've written, there's a lot of stuff out there.
I've seen how many books you even have like editing credits on. You've worked on so many books, and I'm always seeing your content pop up in my feed. It's always exciting to see the stuff you're working on. And for our audience, all of Devin's links to all of Devin's work will be in the show notes for this episode. But Devin, can you tell us about your most recent book, Magni the Mighty?
Yeah, definitely. So Magni the Mighty, this is issue two that is currently on Kickstarter right now. Um, Really like the third issue that'll be published because I started out with a double issue with Band of Bards. So it was a issue zero and a issue one. So that was like 54 pages worth of comics. And every issue up until like issue four, I think is going to be 30 pages. So we have two books, issue two and three, that'll be like 30 pages. But anyway, this is a continuation of Magni's story. And for those who are unaware of the story, Magni the Mighty is a post-Ragnarok tale featuring the sons of Thor, Magni and Modi, as they basically traverse the remains of the Nine Realms in a destiny. How do I want to word this? Essentially, trying to fulfill their destinies. Essentially, is what this is. And issue two follows up on a cool little cliffhanger from issue one, featuring someone that should have been dead, and it's quite the revelation for Magni to see. Um, and I think that in this cool, 30 issue installment, or not 30 issue installment, 30 page installment of the book, um, folks are gonna have a real treat as far as why this person is back, what their motives are, and just continuing the story in a way that's different from what you'd see with Norse mythology stories, typically featuring Thor as the headliner, as not as the children.
Yeah, so that actually feeds right into my next question: is what got you into the Norse mythology that this story is based around?
I've always been big into mythology since I was young. I was really more into Greek mythology for whatever reason. I think that was just more what I was exposed to, and then crazy enough, I had gotten a book from my dad, or rather, I took it so I could have something to read because I was an avid reader, and I still am. And it had like various mythologies in the book, and the majority of it was really like Greek mythology, and like the back half was Norse mythology. So I'm like, this is interesting. And I already liked Thor because of the comic books, Marvel Comics Thor, which is far different than Norse mythology,
Yeah.
Accurate Thor, who's not the greatest person and he's really not smart at all. So it was quite the takeaway from what I was used to. And then obviously, as I was going through, my journey as an individual, I got into more and more and more, backstory for the mythologies, and just otherwise being upset about what Marvel wasn't doing in their comic books. They have like a no child policy, and usually if they have children, they're usually aged up or killed or sent off somewhere else. Uh, so, we saw Thor have children twice ever, and he doesn't have kids anymore. You might see his grandkids pop up, but no one knows who the father or mother or any of that is. So it was quite the journey on to getting Magni the Mighty kind of put together, so to speak.
So, kind of beyond the actual Norse mythology that you're basing this on, what were some of your other inspirations for this book?
Just life things. I struggle with major depression. So mental health is kind of important to myself, and there are some aspects of that in the book. I like a lot of action type stuff, so I try to engage with other properties that kind of center around that. I'm a big anime and manga reader, so Dragon Ball Z, and all that stuff was like one of those things that was like, I wonder if I can incorporate this with like a book that I'm doing. And there's no real power scaling. There might be a little bit, but I'm not totally focused on like power levels or anything unnecessary. But I want the hero to have a difficult time, essentially, when it is concerning, a villain or an adversary that may be a little bit stronger. You have to think yourself out of these situations. You can't just go and grab some more, power from something or somewhere or whatever to just make it a quick battle. You want it to be kind of something that you need to endure and actually, think about. You need to have that kind of battle intelligence. And, people don't understand this even in their actual lives. If you've ever gotten into a fight with somebody that's stronger than you or bigger than you always usually have to think about what it is that you can do to maybe disable, disarm, and essentially take down your opponent. And I wrestled for like 2 seconds in middle school, and then I was in a lot of fights growing up because I was a nerdy kid that got picked on all the time. So it was unfortunate part of life, but yeah. So it's just one of those things that you kind of have to uh, have a little bit of personal experience, and if you don't have any personal experience with like fighting or anything like that, you need to engage in things that has these components to better suit the writing. And I engage in a lot of stuff. I've read over 16,000 comic books, so it's like there's a lot of action in that.
Do you typically keep like in? I know a lot of people are now using apps to keep track of how many books they've read. Do you use one of those?
If I did, I'd probably be surprised by how many books I actually read. Granted, I know I don't read as much as I used to as a kid, or when I was growing up, because I was getting like novels more than I was getting comics, because I had a weekly or monthly allowance, and half the time I'd have to earn that money. So it's like, I'd get like 20 novels from the library at one point, every week. And I usually will read through them at least by Monday, if not Monday, Tuesday, and then go get another stack of books. So, but in terms of comic books, though, yearly now, eh, I don't know. I still read a lot, a lot of back issues, a lot of stuff that, I otherwise might have missed when it first came out. So I guess still back issues. And then the things that I am keeping up on, those are pretty hefty, and I usually try to read those by the ton. And the page counts, especially with Kickstarter books these days, has been huge. So I think I've read a lot of stuff, and I
Yeah,
probably couldn't even fathom how much that was.
right along with page counts. Your book is 30 pages. What made you do
Yep.
that compared to the traditional 22 pages?
I wanted to give readers a little bit more than what we normally would get, because for those who are unaware, um, typically, like you said, comics are about 22 pages. The average, coincidentally enough, at least at Marvel, has been between 17 and like 21 pages if you don't count the ads. And I only just learned that myself within the past couple of years, because I always wondered why books seem kind of short, or they pack a lot of stuff on pages. The panel count would be kind of high, which I am not a fan of all the time, but it does work. But no, 30 pages is usually a good amount of you know substance to me. So to break it down for Magni's case, there's 24 pages of a main story. So you see mostly Magni, doing his thing, and then there's usually a backup, about 6 pages featuring Modi currently. That'll probably stop. Um, Come issue three should be the last one with something like that, just because I wanted to show their separate journeys before they reconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously everything's going to culminate into the final issue of the arc, which is issue 4. And I'm trying to figure out the page count for that because originally it was like 48 pages, and I'm like, I don't know how people will receive that. Well, I could probably finish it in less, but no, page count does matter a lot. You need to be able to pace a story. Pacing is everything. If you don't pace a story properly, then people will become jarred with how uh, fast or really, really slow. People don't like decompression, and then people don't like things that just go too fast where they can't pick it up. No, there is
Mm-hmm.
such a thing as balance. So I try to balance that out, and 30 pages was pretty balanced to me.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely have seen. I like the backup idea because I feel like too many comics nowadays don't do the backup stories. Um, I remember the last comic I remember seeing that did the backup stories
Mm.
was from the Young Animal era of Gerard
Yeah.
Raceberg, and they did some
Mm.
really cool backup stories with like the Wonder Twins or like just random side characters that they knew they
Yeah.
couldn't devote an entire like series to, and that's really fun. And you kind of did something uh, not absolutely similar, but kind of similar with your. I can't remember what the name of your book was, but it was the one where you had Granite and your
Oh,
other character, where you had two
noir.
characters. Yeah, that was really cool. How you had two characters. I remember that book was really neat. How you were telling so many stories just together.
Yeah.
And do you have any like I know you already have plans for Magni and Modi to keep going forward, but do you have any other plans for the other characters from those other books to continue forward?
Oh, absolutely. Crazy enough that you mentioned noir because I actually wrote the first arc, and once I'm done working on other things, and I'm trying to do a lot of pre-holiday planning stuff, so it has been a mess. But yeah, I have a lot of things that people have already seen or read that I would like to continue. Granted, I know C.J. Hudson, who wrote that to coincide with my book. I know he's got issue 1 done as far as writing. I'm not sure if he's gotten any art started last time we spoke, but I know I plan on having Noir #1 art started either by the end of this year or early next year because I would like to have it out by either the spring or early to mid summer of 2025. But I'll figure that out. But yeah, I would love for folks to just kind of dive deep into that. I know there's some other stuff that, some work for hire stuff that will continue on other characters, but they're not mine, so I don't get to dictate when that stuff comes out.
No, that's really exciting, and you may have already said this, but what is the overall plan for Magni the Mighty? Like, how long do you see this series going in your mind?
Oh man, that's so. So far, I have a outline, which is something I typically don't do. I typically just do everything off the top of my head. I already know where it's going. I have an outline already for about 25 issues, 25 of which it'll be going on 3 issues released. And I have plans to at least my minimum is about 100 issues.
Oh,
And I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about it because something like that is not an easy, plug,
mm-hmm,
especially for an independent creator like myself. And everything is based on finances.
mm-hmm.
The team is, you know, adamant on doing this as long as they possibly can, especially David, my co-creator and the artist of Magni the Mighty. Because when I first approached him years ago about this idea, he was already on board. He was sold on the idea. Typically when I collaborate with artists, I allow them to do pretty much whatever they feel, with small inputs from myself. So between David and I, he's come up with a lot of ideas. Even the cover for the book, I told him like, hey, could you come up with something? I want you to put your spin on whatever. Just feature Magni Modi on the cover. And he was like, oh, I have a great idea. And then the idea turned out to be that cool cover that we have, featuring. It was like Magni in the air with his hammer, and then Modi in his new look that'll debut in the issue. And then it's like runes all over the cover and some other stuff that's just really cool. It's something that I feel like I should have as a poster. So maybe I should talk to Band of Arts about that, but that's another conversation. But yeah, it's just really cool that I could plan this much out because these are characters that I love, and I want to give the world as much of them as I possibly can.
No, and you've been doing fantastic work. It's been really cool. Kind of speaking on that, can you kind of talk about who the whole creative team is for this book?
Sure. So obviously, there's me, Devin Arscott, the writer, and cre- part of the creator team. Then there's David Mong Batista. He is my co-creator and the artist. He's been doing this for quite a while. He actually just had a book release with someone. I think it was called Monkey. It was a fun little book based on what was it, Journey into the West or something like that. Then there's Ibrahim Aiden. He is our colorist. He's very sharp with it. I think I just saw him do some recent stuff that I cannot remember for the life of me. And then there is Justin, or Letter Squids as most people know him, our letterer. He's he's a fantastic guy. The only reason I even got him to jump on was because I saw something he did. It was a book called The Antagonist, and I thought that was pretty neat. So, but everybody is pretty much on the same page. We are all about as passionate as the next person when it comes to doing this book, and I hope folks kind of see that passion as we continue to give you these issues.
I'm really excited, and you have such a great creative team. Kind of building off that, can you talk about some of the rewards that your Kickstarter has for the
Absolutely.
book?
Yeah, definitely. So, we have our standard digital tier, for those people that can't afford to, keep a bunch of books in the house or what have you, physical collections aren't your thing. We have a digital tier for you. We got our standard physical, so cover A featuring David's work and Ibrahim's colors. Then we have a cover B featuring artwork from, excuse me, Marcus Jimenez, which is, man, he's a great guy. He also did the cover for Noir. So I thought it was great to have a cover from him. We have our catch up tier, which is basically you get the double issue, which is 54 pages, and then you get 30 more pages with issue two. So that's 84 pages. And I think it's like $22 or something like that. So for 22 bucks, you could catch up physically, and I know we have a digital version of that same catch up tier as well for less. And then we have, all sorts of different bundles. That bundle issue, the double issue two, um, some hollow foils that I've seen. I know there's a bundle with a cool little print from the double issue featuring a double page spread of one of my favorite, action scenes from issue one, which is pretty cool and it's foil. So, for those folks that love hollow foils and all that neat stuff, that's definitely something that's up your alley. And then we also have hollow foil issue two, hollow foil double issue, and some other cool stuff. I have an editorial tier for like $100. I know they have a Band of Arts for Life, which is everything in their publication, and I believe beyond that as well, for a lovely once in a lifetime price, and you pretty much get everything that they'll ever publish, from what I recall. So I think a lot of these are just too good to pass up, and don't just take my word for it. I want to show folks that you're actually getting your money's worth, especially, if you've never read the book before, and for, 22 bucks or, less, if you're a digital reader, you get 84 pages worth of comic. That's pretty much a graphic novel almost.
Yeah,
And the
that's a really
story
good
ain't
deal.
finished. Yeah, I thought it was crazy myself, but then again, I forgot I'm the one that wrote it. So it makes a lot of sense, in retrospect.
And especially like with some of those tiers, like especially an editorial tier from
Uh-huh.
yourself, like it's a really good deal. And I think a lot of it's been really cool to see a lot of Kickstarters doing deals that benefit the community as well with like um, editorial tiers or people who offer their artwork for people's projects. It's I think a lot of the community recognizes that value, and it's been really cool to see because like you're just giving your services out, plus they get the book as well. Um, that's like really great for the community, and I'm really just totally excited to see this book and trying to think just for a hot second of any other questions. Let me check because I did put out, I believe on Instagram or Twitter,
Yeah.
asking people if they had any questions. I don't see anything, but my Twitter's been wacky lately. Though I know everyone is leaving Twitter now with everything going
Yeah,
on, but
of course.
um, but again, thank you so much for coming on. And where can our audience find you and find all of your work online?
So, excuse me. You can find me primarily on Twitter or X or whatever people are calling it these days at CBDevin95. Same handle on Instagram. I'm not really there often just because I'm Instagram illiterate and I'm trying, so bear with me. I also have a Substack that I regularly post on every month. I'm trying to, have an uptick of at least 2 posts a month now, um, which you can find in my bio on Twitter. I have a link tree that you can just click on and you can find all my stuff there and keep up with me. So it's a free newsletter. I will be offering a paid subscription here probably at the beginning of the year, but it will have some great perks and some things that are otherwise exclusive to the Substack. So if you follow me on that, you'll learn a lot more about it in the coming months.
Awesome. And all for our audience, again, all these links will be down in the description below. And that Substack, I definitely recommend all our viewers subscribe to it because I am, and I've just gotten to get such cool updates. Plus, you get to see comic stuff and hear about Devin's process. And it's been really cool to learn from a professional like Devin. But thank you to all our viewers for listening, and check out our next episode upcoming soon from Nostalgia Screams.